Added baby son to my credit card. So I stumbled upon this post and I was like, what? I've added my son, 1.5 years old, to my credit card with the idea of building his credit history. I don't have any credit card debt, pay off in full every month, actually more like every few weeks because why not? Good plan, bad plan, anything I should be keeping in mind. The thing is, I understand a parent's desire to build their kid's credit. I understand that. But the reality is, you don't know how your kid is actually going to be with money, right? Because their personality might be completely different than yours. They might be completely irresponsible even after teaching them personal finance. So it's like I understand it, but like you just don't know what they're going to end up turning out to be like. Two, this can be very dangerous because if their name is on your card, right, and they get old enough to start using credit cards, they could end up destroying your credit if they're bad with it as well. But let's actually read some of these people's comments because I was just shocked when I stumbled upon this. Personally, I think this is a bad idea. I don't think you should be putting your kid on a credit card. Like maybe if they're in a high school, right? Maybe it makes more sense, but even then, like I don't like the idea of like parents and kids linking their finances. I think that it could be a very awkward relationship. No need to do it now. If you still have great credit and cards in 16 years, do it then. My folks put me on their card for college and it was an unintended side effect. They also put me on their AAA card club membership and I have a status showing I have been a customer longer than I have been alive. When I left college, my mom walked me into the bank and cut off access. We opened a new bank account with only my name, then closed and transferred the one we shared. She had me open a new credit card and then we got my own car insurance and AAA card account. It felt like she pushed me out of the nest at the age of 24. Then I promptly spent a ton of money I didn't have, got into a good fender bender, a speeding ticket, and then broke my thumb. In my case, having my folks watching over my spending habits was a good motivator for better behavior. I can only imagine the trouble I would have gotten into with them as my bumper guards. Gonna go call them now and see if they are free for lunch. Let's see. I'm thinking a better plan would be wait till he's of age or close to it, and then add him as an authorized user. If it's the same credit card or another that has many years of history, still benefits from the length of time in files. A downside to your plan I could think of: young child with a good credit file versus no credit file equals increased possibilities someone gets hold of his info and fraudulently gets credit in his name. Yep. Interesting point about the identity theft. Implied consent. The thing is, I feel like this is again like a double-edged sword, right? Because yes, this person might be good with their credit card today, maybe this year, maybe next year. But imagine some emergencies happen and they start putting money on the credit card, then they like lose a job, then they get like really in a bad position where they keep getting into more and more credit card debt. They start maxing out their credit cards, and now they're in a situation where their credit score is completely slaughtered, right? Or they end up having to go file for bankruptcy. Well, their kid is now going to be tied to that in a way. So their credit score, when they end up being 18, 20, 21, or whatever, will be heavily affected. And it might be also hard for them to go get a mortgage because you end up having some crazy emergency that happened before they went and became that age. Let's see. Until the parent racks up their debt and gives their dear child the sweet reward of being in crippling debt before college. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, there's been so many stories of like kids just completely getting screwed over by their parents. Let's see, this person says, oh, from dumb underscore housewife. My dad did this for me when I was 16. I inherited an 800 credit score, and nearly 40 years later, I'm still super thankful. Never got into any trouble with it, and it's extremely helpful when it was time for me to buy a car and eventually a house. He didn't make a lot of savvy financial decisions, but this one helped out us kids tremendously. Let's see. Okay, so my parents did this for me, which was nice, but they also have consistently around $20,000 in credit card debt for a few decades. So now on my credit report, it says I opened a credit card at age 12 and have had $20,000 in debt. Thankfully, this looks incredibly stupid, so most people write it off once they actually look, but it's still there. Maybe wait until they're like 16, then you can give them a card for emergencies too. Let them kind of get used to having one and not using it. Yes, something could go horribly wrong in your lifetime, leaving him with a credit score that you wrecked. That's my fear, right? Because I understand this parent is wanting to like put their kid in the best possible financial situation imaginable, right? Because they obviously care about their kid. But again, you cannot predict the future. So when you're working with like a double-edged sword like this, which is debt, you could end up really screwing your kid over. Let's see. Terrible plan, won't help him, won't do anything. This is super overkill. There's absolutely zero reason to start building credit at 1.5 years old. It will not help your son in the slightest to do this when he's 1.5 instead of when he's 16. Yeah. If you stumble on this, feel free to give your thoughts. Personally, I think this is a double edged sword that should not be played around with because it could just go horribly wrong. But if you want to learn how to get out of debt, go down below, learn how I got out of debt, and grow my net worth.